Hello, welcome back. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back to World War I Wednesday, and here we are now with, this is week 17 now, but it's actually part 2 of this build of this 1/16 scale Sopwith Camel. So, in part 1, we actually removed the cockpit floor from the sprues. Since then, I've given it a good clean up and got it all painted. The parts that I stripped are all stripped and are currently sat drying out in their tub. They've been rinsed off. I'm just letting them dry now. And somebody asked the question, does this work with stripping chrome? I cut a piece of sprue from a kit that had chrome in it, and yes, it does. The bleach works with chrome as well. So we've also gone ahead and painted the framework there for the cockpit seat, and there's that little infill piece there. I've also gone on and built up the control column. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts there. And what I've done on the top here, I've drilled out the ends, as you can see there. I've got my photographic references from my wingsock book, which is very handy. So yeah, I drilled that out, and that's going to be painted aluminium, even though the instructions say black. This is all aluminium, and I'm going to see about getting some cord around there or something to imitate the rope that was tied around. So that's that. So we've got a control column that's basically operating, as you can see there. Okay, the spindle. Remember, we did the spindle, and that's going to basically pop into the back of the engine there. And then we've got like a wood draft key going in there that drives the engine and propeller together, because remember the engine spun with the propeller. The crankshaft was actually bolted to the bulkhead. So that's that. So that's basically what we've been doing, and that's the little piece there that goes in. Basically, the control column is going to sit in the cockpit floor, kind of like that. Yeah, and then that piece there is going to go over the top and hold it in place. Okay, so this will all be painted separately. But what I wanted to do in here now is talk about wood graining. I've covered this many times before in other videos, and basically I like to use oil paints. There's lots of different ways of doing this. And here I have burnt sienna. Okay, and what I do here, I put this on cardboard like this, and as you can see, there's a lot of oil in the paint, and the reason I do it on cardboard is the cardboard will soak the oil up. I'm just gonna, I'll do that in a minute actually. I'm gonna clean the top of that tube off. And here I've got burnt umber. So we've got 2 different colours here. I'm just going to put some of that on there. That's not quite so oily. Okay, so there's our burnt sienna and burnt umber oil paints. So we leave them on there and let the oil get soaked away, especially in the burnt sienna. And then I've got a paintbrush here, and this burnt umber is actually looking good to go. I'm going to put a bit of, I'm going to mix this up actually. Get some of that in with that. And we'll get a sort of medium shade. As you can see, this is nice because it's not so thick. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to brush this on. Okay, and brush it on. And what you do is you brush it out almost like you're dry brushing. Okay, so you don't want any heavy build-up anywhere either. You want to avoid that, because this paint takes forever to dry. Okay. Just be careful not to get any build up in those holes, because that's where our cables have got to go through. I'm not sure exactly how much of this can be seen, but we'll wood grain it all anyway, just in case. It's better to spend the extra time now than find out when you fit the seat and you've got this great big yellow bloody block sticking out below the seat. See, I'm just brushing this on, not worrying about the wood grain effects at the moment. I'm just getting the oils on there. We'll get down that back as well. And this is LP77. This is one of the German yellow colours for armour. That's the base colour. I like to use LP paints for this because it's you don't need a primer, so it goes straight onto the plastic. And it's very, very tough. It dries like glass. It's solid. So there we are. So that's that there. Okay, so we just brush that out. Make sure everything's evenly covered. And then I'm going to take some of this burnt sienna and add to that, just to wet it down a bit. And then we're going to do this here. Now this front edge we need to make sure we get some on this front edge. And as you can see, I'm going in the opposite direction, not for accuracy or anything, it's just to add a bit of interest really. As I say, make sure we get everywhere, all the nooks and crannies. And also the other thing to say is always use an old brush. Don't use a new brush, because you're going to ruin it, especially for the application. You might want to use a nicer brush for the wood graining, which we'll do in a minute. Just make sure you get all the edges and everything. Nothing looks worse than having a lovely wood grain finish and then you've got a great yellow edge sticking out somewhere. Okay, so now you can see on there's a kind of wood grain effect on there. So what we can do here is flick the paint around a bit. There we go. Right, I'm going to let that dry off a bit, because at the moment it's a little bit too wet to play with. I'm not getting the desired effect. The other thing you can do, if you look at it and it's a bit dark, okay, you can get a cotton bud and rub the cotton bud over it, and then you get a lighter shade. So if you want those two raised panels to be different to the rest, then there you go. And you might be happy with that. You might be happy with that wood grain effect there. You might want to go a bit more. You might want to come along and brush over it to add a bit of wood grain, rather than just using the cotton bud. You can brush away at the sides. You can see you've got that tonal difference now. And remember, this is going to be a museum class model. It's not going to be weathered at all. It will be absolutely pristine, like brand new. So there won't be any weathering. I'll use some oils and stuff to do some highlighting, but I won't actually be adding any scuff marks or chipping or weathering or anything like that. Okay, so if we feel that's a bit dark there, we can take some of the paint away with our cotton bud, and then once again using the brush we can add some wood grain, and then afterwards, if we want to, we can mess around with some transparent orange paint. Clear orange from Tamiya, clear red, clear yellow, whatever, just to change the tone. So you can see now we've got 3 different colours of wood and 3 different wood grains. Just like that. You can see it looks like wood, and we can mess around with it. We can use some smoke colour to darken it up should we want to. We can use clear orange to brighten it up, clear yellow to lighten it down, and I'll show you all that as well. But the the thing we have to do now is leave it for a day or so and let it dry, and then we can give it a clear coat and seal it in, and then we can play with it. Just do the same on this one here. This is going to be a wooden beam, so it's going across ways like that. We'll get the ends as well, just in case they are visible. You can see that we've got a wooden beam now that's going to go across the front. And now we've got to do this one, and this one's going to be a little more awkward because I'm just going to use this on this to get a bit of tonal difference. What I want to try and do on this one is show, I'm going to have to hold it, aren't I? Try and show that the wood is obviously, the grain is obviously going longitudinally, so it's going to be quite difficult to achieve that. What I may have to do is do these and then seal them, mask them up, and then do those separately to get the desired effect. But you can see I can easily get the oil onto there. We'll get it underneath as well, because as I said earlier in part one, I think we can actually see the bottom of this part. And if you do have a nice cutting mat or a nice place where you work or whatever, you might want to put some paper down or something, because this can get quite messy. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing there, just putting it on, just making sure it's into every nook and cranny. As I've said quite a few times, you don't want any little yellow bits left over. Right, then we can just go over it and add some wood grain. We can use a cotton bud, just like that on these smaller parts to get your wood grain effect on there. Okay, do the same on there. Just that. Watch the cotton bud, bits of fluff coming off. As long as you get them off before you seal it, you'll be okay. And then just run the brush into the corners to get rid of the build up in the corners. Just brush that out. And there we are, there's one side done. As I say, if you want it a bit lighter, we'll just take some more oil off. Just like so. So you guys, it's an absolute doddle doing this. It's really easy. There we go. And there's our wood grain beam. Okay, as I say, clear coat, orange, red, whatever you want to do, you can play with it to your heart's content, change the colour. Right, so that's what I think I'm going to do those, and then I'm going to mask them up and do the cross pieces, because it's going to be very, very difficult to do it all together. So I'll get the other side of this done, let it dry, get it clear coated, and then we'll move on. Okay, so here we are back now. I think this is about 60 hours later. I think it's about 60 hours later. So yeah, it's you can tell it's going to be a long one. So we've got the wood grain done. We've left it for 60 hours, and then we've given it a coat of LP23. Is it? Yeah, flat clear. So you can see now we've got that kind of wood effect. And what I'll do now is I'll play with some clear oranges and clear yellows and get some toning going on. So we've got that piece there, which is going to go across. I've got this piece here, which is all masked up and ready for me to do the wood graining. So it'll look quite interesting, because I'll try and get a different shade, and we'll have it looking good going across there. So you can see it's all masked up with tape. The blue tape, this one here, is available from Outlaw Paints. Moss brings it over. It's Japanese, and it's really good. It's very nice to use. So I've detacked everything, because obviously we've got flat clear on top of oils, and the risk is when we peel it off, it's going to peel all the paint off. So we may have to go and do some touch-ups, whatever. But you can see now, when I say this is going to be a very lengthy process, you know, it's going to be another 2 days now. So it's going to be, today is Saturday, so it's going to be at least Monday before I can give this a clear coat, and then I've got to try and get some work done for Wednesday. But in the meantime, I can work on this stuff here. So I've done this main spindle, as you can see. I can't remember if I already showed you this. That's going in the back of the engine. We've glued the engine together and dealt with the seam lines. So that's going in there. I've also done the control column. And what I've done, I've drilled the ends here, because a couple of pictures I found, one of them showed it with it blanked off as it was in the kit. Another one showed it with it open up as welded tubes. So this is all aluminium. So basically they've got a cord around there. So I've used the Model Custom 0.2 to imitate the cord going around. So I think that's going to look quite good when it's all painted. And of course this is going to mount in the floor here like that, and it's going to be controlling all of our control surfaces apparently. So we shall see. Right, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I can't remember how much I said, because it's been so long ago since I made the last little snippet. Right, so I'm going to get some oils on here now. Do the same as I did before. You don't need to see me do that again. Just basically using brushes, moving the oils around. I may see, I've got the old oils here, which are, yeah, they've pretty much dried out. I may see if I can just invigorate them with a little bit of odorless thinner. It may be that I can get something. Let's use this little brush here. Can I get something out of that? It's going to be very difficult. Yeah, that's going to be a waste of time. It's going to take forever. But we shall see. I think those 4 blocks there are for mounting the seat. I'll probably add a little bit more paint to that and then mix it all in together, so I'll get like a half sticky mess. And I'll put a bit of yellow in it as well, I think. Right, back in a sec. There we go. As you can see, we've got the variation, we've got the grain going across. I think I'm glad I've done this piece first, because when it comes to doing the actual main parts, I think what I'll do in future is paint this, like paint the longerons, do the oils, let it dry, clear coat it, then mask it, and then paint this again, because what we've got here, you can see we've got some darker areas on every end. So I think when it comes to doing the the other parts, I think I'll probably mask and paint as well. But it's kind of the effect I was looking for. This is going to have to be left now for a couple of days and then get clear coat, and then we'll do the detail painting on this switch panel here and this valve here, or tap, whatever it is. So yeah, happy with that. Just want to see if I can lighten these ends a bit, really. But, I think it's going to be buried inside the fuselage. We've got the seat going here. There's going to be, you know, the control column's going to be up in there. This is basically going to sit, I believe this is going to sit sort of like that over the floor there. I can't believe the seat actually goes that far back. Maybe the seat goes in here. Maybe this is for the fuel tank and this is for the seat. Okay, so that's probably going to sit more like that then. This is for the fuel tank, that's for the seat. Right, so most of this is going to be covered up anyway. So it was a learning curve. Okay, this is the thing. It's my first time doing a 16th scale biplane. So there we are. Back in a minute. Okay, a couple of days later now, and we've got the, well, it's a day later actually. We've got this clear coated. I've also done some detail paint. I've got the brass on there. It's actually game coloured gold, it's called, but it looks like brass. And then we've got the aluminium colour on there and the little black lever with this brass base on it. I don't think much of this is going to be seen because this is all going to be covered in, but it's nice to get it looking good, isn't it? So for colour references, I'm using this book here. This is the brilliant Windsock Centenary World War One Modelling Special number 5, and this is the Sopwith Camel and LVG C6, which, as you know, I've got the there's the LVG there. I've got the dualist set for that. So there's some fantastic pictures in here. This is written by Ray Rimmel, and there's some fantastic pictures in here. I think this is a restored aircraft, but I'm using these pictures as my guide, because as you can see, we've got this one here with the rope around the hand grip, and you can see the same here. You've got that button in the middle. I'm not sure what that is, but that's not on the kit. I'm not adding to the kit, I'm just painting stuff. But we can see down here we've got 2 examples. They've both got the brass fitting there, they've both got the silver painting here. So I'm sort of going to use this one, I think, because we've got the black and everything down there, and it makes it a little bit more interesting than just having everything silver and brass. However, having said that, this one is more accurate to the kit part because it has that straight lever, whereas this one has the ball on the end. So we shall see. I'll do a combination of both, eh? It doesn't really matter, does it? It's a plastic model at the end of the day, and most of it's going to be hidden, because we have when you look at the model, you can see this is all wrapped around. So so there we go. I haven't done the tinting on the floor yet. I'm going to do that in this segment. I have painted the control column. As you can see, we've got the bottom painted black, then we've got that bit there painted black. We've got the rope around the hand grip there. That's made out of model cast and 0.2mm rigging, and then that's painted, and I've put a light brown wash over it just to highlight that it's cable sort of thing. So that's LP72 mica silver. This is LP5 semi-gloss black, and that is brushed in with game colour black. And then this here, we've got the this is Viejo aluminium. That's model colour brass or gold, and that's the black there sprayed. So what we've got to do now is add these parts as per the instructions. So if we look in here, you can see we're adding these parts here. So we've got J6. We have here J6, G34 and J2, and they're telling us to paint them silver. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to paint them as per my book. So what we're going to do here is remove some paint from here down to the brown plastic. That should guarantee us a good welded joint in there. And then what I will do is apply some extra thin to this part here, and then plonk that in to there like so, and hopefully that will stay there. So that's gone in. So what we can do now is just run some extra thin around it, make sure it's in there nice and solid. So that's that, and then we've got this little part on the inside which is G34, and that's going to go on that raised lump there. So again, we'll remove the paint from there, and this little part here, G34, it's a tiny little filter or something. In fact, I'll hold the ball on the top. I think what I'm going to do is put a drop of cement into there. Oh, here we go again, come on. There we go. And then just plonk that down on there. Just like so. And then a drop of cement in from behind. So that's that in place, like that. And this is all going to get painted afterwards. It's easier to paint it because I've got something to hold once it's assembled. And then finally we've got this piece here, J2, which has got this little sort of recess in the bottom of it. And that's going to go onto there. It's going onto there. Yes, it's going onto that lump there. So I'm just going to scrape the paint from there. And I'm going to get a drop of cement into the bottom of there. Just wish I could get some glue on this bloody brush. I know it's not because it's the bristles need pulling out, it's because the brush is not pulling the glue up. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is get the drop of cement into there, and that'll capillary around, and then we can position that like that. There we are. So that's all in place, so we'll let the glue dry on those, and then we'll get those painted with some silver and gold or whatever and go from there. So that's all looking lovely. It's all looking quite busy down there now, isn't it? Right, so that's that done. The other thing we need to look at is these parts that we've bleached, so let me go and get them out of the bathroom. Alright, so there's our parts in our takeaway tub. So we've got our fuel tank halves there, which we need, and then we've got a fuel cap which is going to go on the top. We can put those over there out of the way. So if you remember, we sanded all this flat before we did any work, or before we stripped the can't think and talk today. Before we stripped the silver is what I was trying to think of. So we can get this all sanded out. Just roughly, it's going to need filling anyway. So there we go. So we can, that's cool. Grab a clamp. I'm not sure if a peg's going to go. Yes, it will. So we'll put a peg on either side like that, hold it together, and then we'll just get our Tamiya extra thin and we'll run it into the seam and let it do its thing. I just want to check actually, is that going in? You see, this is the problem. When parts are clamped nice and tightly together, you think it's going in and it's not. Alright, there's not a lot going on there. I'm also looking, this plastic doesn't seem to be massively affected by the extra thin. So what I'm going to do here is let these parts sit just with a gap. And I'm going to use my extra thin quick setting because it's hotter. Go for it, dog. So let that go in there and do its thing. In fact, if I hold that neck, that'd be the best way to hold it, wouldn't it? Just pull it apart slightly. Oh, look at that dripping off the brush. Urgh. It's all or nothing, isn't it, with these bloody Tamiya brushes. There we go, we've got a load on there as well, look. That's the last thing I need when I need to spray this aluminium. You can see where the glue's run down there and it's actually damaged the surface. That's okay, we'll polish it out. Make sure these flanges here are nicely lined up. And they are. So we get a peg on there. Get a peg on there. Check those flanges once again. Yep, they're nice. All good. So we'll leave that to dry. And then we can put some super glue around there, sand and fill the seam and get it painted. Oh, the filler cap can go on. That's just going to plonk onto there like that. As you can see, that cement is not really working well with this plastic. Look at that, it's just not, this is a worry. Usually you can tell with parts like this, you can put them on and you can turn them, and if they, when they start to cement, you should feel a resistance, and I'm just not feeling anything. It's not sticking it. That is a worry. So it could be that we're going to have to use super glue for these parts. Oh, that's starting to, no, it's not. Something to bear in mind with this kit, guys. It's just not working. I mean, that is pretty well flooded now, that joint. We'll see how it dries. I mean, it's, don't know what else to do really. See how it dries. Right, back tomorrow for me. Alright, so as for tinting this wood, oh, by the way, I've glued the oil tank together as well to see how the cement works, because that's from the same sprue. So we've got this clear orange X26, which is a Tamiya colour, and I've got it very, very heavily thinned with X20A thinner. I'm not using a lacquer thinner because I just want it to just go down. I don't want it to bite into the surface or anything, because I may just want to wipe it off. So what I'm going to do is highlight these wooden panels here. So I've got some masking tape here pre-prepared. The masking doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be on there. So there we go, we can cover that there. Cover that there. Right, and I also need a piece in the middle that looks like, is that 10mm? Piece of 10mm tape. Look at that, perfect. Alright, in fact I may as well mask over that one as well. Not that it matters, because it's going to be covered with another piece. And then what we can do is just check. You can see how heavily thinned it is, there's hardly anything coming out. What I'm going to do here is just spray over. I've got a blockage in my airbrush, I think. Yeah, I'm having all sorts of problems with this airbrush today. It's all or nothing, like my bloody Tamiya extra thin. What this will do, I'll give it a slight sheen, and it will also change its colour. So you can see now we've got this sort of brighter looking wood. Okay, so that's how to do about that, but honestly my airbrush is just absolutely being a pain in the butt today. It's probably got a little bit of fluff or something in it, which is just floating around in the nozzle. There we go. And then if you want to, you can also just freehand bits in like that, just to add a bit of tonal variation. In case you can see on there, we've got the tonal variation, and it's very subtle. We could also do it on here. Just get some on these cross pieces here. And the beauty, because it's wood, it doesn't need to be perfect. But what I do suggest, as I've done here, is mask off, because you don't want your wood grain to be going across. You want your wood grain to be in lengths. So there we are. And that, my friends, is that. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a coat of semi-gloss clear, so it's got like a semi-sheen to it. But the more you put on, the more you'll get the effect. Yeah. And it really does work. The other thing that this clear orange works very well on is rust. If you've painted a rusty exhaust or something, give it a very thin coat of this afterwards. Your rust pops out. Looks really good. So there we are. just using air so I can dry these heavy applications where the airbrush has been fighting with me. There you go. So that is how I achieve a wooden finish. Okay, you can also use yellow. Right, so now I've got here X24 clear yellow, again thinned with X20A acrylic thinners. And what we can do now is just mask what I've just done. Okay, literally just tapping it on there so it doesn't pull the paint off. And then we can check our flow. We can use the yellow on these pieces at the side here. We can also use some yellow in there as well, blotch it in. And that will again give us some tonal difference. And you can see that this paint is kind of giving the wood some body. I could go over the whole lot now very lightly, it's such a thin mix. You can kind of see the yellow tinge, but it is also adding to the wood effect. So there we are. We could also do some on here as well. So hopefully now, guys, you can see why this is going to take so long, because all of these processes just take forever. You know, I've been working on this for hours and I've glued a pair of engine halves together, built up a control column and painted some wood. That's it. So, you know, there we go. We'll just get rid of that paint out of there, give the airbrush a clean, wait for that paint to dry, and then we'll do some detail painting. Alright, so looking at these bloody masking tape. Looking at these drawings in here, let's get all this out of the way. We can see, not drawings, photographs, we can see we've got two examples there. So I'm going to go with this one, I think, because it's more, although that we don't have that lump on the end of the lever, a lot of this looks a lot different than the kit. So what I'm going to do, I've got some here, I've got some black, some silver and some gold. So first of all, I've put a little bit of water in the gold because it's a little thick out the bottle. So it looks like we've got the top of this fitting here is gold. So paint that in, or brass should I say, I'm using gold. Basically because I don't have a paint called brass that's brushable. Actually I do, I got the Mr. Hobby one, haven't I? I'll stick with this now. Okay, so we've done that there, and now we're going to have to go around with some black. And then we've got this item down in here, which again appears to have a brass knob. I would normally be doing this with a magnifier. So we'll paint that lever on the top of there, or that knob, or whatever it is. Paint that in the gold colour. Get down in there. As you can see, it's a lot easier to do it like this than as separate parts. Okay, so that's our bits of gold done there. Of course, we can also use artistic license if we want to. Clean the brush off, get some of the aluminium on. So it looks like these levers are aluminium. Of course, I might be looking at restored aircraft here, which is a no-no, but this model is not all about accuracy. This model is all about making a lovely looking museum piece, because at the end of the day, why would you ever see a Sopwith Camel with no canvas? So that's that done. I'll touch this up in a minute under my magnifier because I know I'm blind as a bat. getting behind there as well. Get the back of that done in the silver. Just like so, and then we've got the other lever as well, which is also silver. On the other model it's brass, so I don't know what to do. I might go over it with some brass, we shall see. Just to add a bit of interest. As I say, I don't think you're going to see much of this anyway. Just do that front face now. Just like so, and then there we go. There we are, that's all done. So I'm going to get under a magnifier and tidy it up, do a bit of black, and I'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so after all that's done under a magnifier, I've then gone over with a quick black wash, a black oil wash. It's not to weather it, as I said, this isn't going to be weathered, but as you can see what it does, it goes in all the nooks and crannies and it kind of just gives everything a bit of a patina. The yellow all over my fingers, I haven't been smoking a million cigarettes, well that's that's from cleaning up those jars, the Tamiya clear red, clear orange, clear green, all those, they really do get in the lids. So I've given them a really good clean. So there we are, and then with this oil wash you can just wipe it off if you want to, or just leave it on there, whatever. So there we are. So that's that done. Right, so now we need to look at the building. We've got here in step 4, we've got this floor. So we can take this off of its blue tack. It's been on for about, feels like a year. So that's that done. Now as I said, I'm going to give this a coat of semi-gloss, but what I want to do first is get this control column in, because the black part of that is already semi-gloss. So I'm just removing any paint or anything from here. Okay, so we should be good to go, and then we can grab our control column, and that's going to pop into the hole of the back, and then that's going to rest in there. And then we've got this little piece here, and that's okay. We've got 2 pins on there. So what I think I'm going to do, I've already test fitted this, haven't I? Let's get that out of the way so I don't break it. Drop of cement in that hole there. Oh, come on. Bloody stuff. Okay, get a drop of cement in there and in there. And then I'm just going to grab my tweezers, get this the right way up. The glue's drying out as we're speaking. Just plonk that down into there, just like so. Oh, here comes Ice Cream Van with his volume at about 1,000,000 decibels. There we go. So that's that done. I'm just looking here, I should have put some wood grain down in there, shouldn't I? That can always be taken care of. Right, so that's that done. So that's fitted. So now we're ready. I'm going to have to put some wood grain down in there. Luckily I've still got my, let's get the structures out of the way so I don't mess them up. Luckily I've still got my piece of card here. So what we can do here is grab some odourless thinners and a brush. This should revigorate it, I thought, but it's not going to by the look of it. There we go. So I should be able to get something going down in there. Maybe we want a lighter colour actually. There we go. There we are. Just get some up in that corner. Once that's dry, we can brush at it a bit. That should dry pretty quick actually, because it's all thinners. It's not there's not much oil in there. As you can see, it's given us something. So I'll be back in a minute once I've got that sorted. Guys, we do appear to have a bit of a problem here. You saw how much cement I put on here when I glued this together. And now I can just pull it apart. And that's been glued together for about an hour. In fact, half of it's glued and half hasn't, and I've just chucked it on the floor. Yeah, it would appear that the top half is, I can't actually pull the, I mean, even if I put a knife in there, I can't actually get the top half apart. Oh yes, I can. There we go. We've got a problem, guys. We'll have to use super glue, which I really don't want to do. But and I guess this one is going to be the same. And when I've washed the parts off in fresh water, they've been completely submerged in fresh water. And that seems to be okay, perhaps. What I don't want to do is glue it together and then find 6 months down the line I've got cracks in it. So we're going to have to use super glue, which I do not like doing. My super glue of choice is this one. In fact, no, I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use this one. This is Flexi 5K CA for PE. Okay, now all these glues have their own sort of 4 resin, 4 PE for this. I don't know how they come up with it, but so what we'll do is we'll go all the way around here and we'll put super glue on the whole face. The reason I'm using this one is it takes a while to dry, so it won't just dry out on the face, and hopefully it'll ooze out, and then we can also use it as a filler. We'll have to use more filler because there's a bit of a nasty undercut in the sides. So yeah, very strange that. I'll have to try and get a hotter glue. I wish in a way now I kept the sprue because I could do some experiments, but I've thrown the sprue away and the bin men have been since I threw it away. So we can put that together like so. Make sure these flanges are aligned. And get a couple of clothes pegs on it and hope for the best. But that is going to be a real problem with these parts. I just want to see if we go to the bottom of the tank or mark it, it doesn't matter. Careful not to, if it suddenly goes, I'll slice my bloody fingers off. Yeah, look at that, it's not sticking at all. I can just pull it apart. Great. So bear that in mind, guys. If you've got one of these, it's something you're going to have to deal with, especially for Charlie, because I know he's got one of these that he wants to build. So we're going to have to super glue these parts together from this sprue. The trouble is, as I just said, if you want a chance using a stronger cement, then by all means, if I could just put this on out the tube. If you want a chance using a stronger cement, that'll be great, but you don't know that maybe in 6 months' time you might start to see cracks, which is always an issue. There we are. And there we are. Right. So we can leave those to dry. Take about an hour. It's quite a slow drying glue, which is great. A lot of the VMS stuff is, which is brilliant because it means you've got time to work with it. Instead of it just being an instant, down. So there we are. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm not sure where we are time-wise, but I'm going to let them dry. I'm not worried about the tank at the moment. It's this tank here, fuel tank, I'm worried about at the moment. But as you can see, I've given this a coat of semi-gloss clear, so that's all sealed in, and we've got our control column there all ready for the action. Apparently, so I'm told by one of my viewers, it will all work, so I can't wait to see that. So yeah, there we are, and I think doing that bit of work to the top of that control column, even if it's not accurate, it's accurate for a museum piece that I'm doing. And I think it looks much better than just having the plastic there. So you can see already, this is the beauty of World War I stuff. We've got the wood grain, we've got the rope around the column. It's all simple, it's all straightforward. There's no rubber boots or leather gaiters or anything. It's all lovely. Right, so what's going to be next? I think we might have to start thinking about getting some string cut. So that's going to be fun. We've got to label up all the strings as well. And then what I'll do is I'll roll them up and put them into a bag. These parts here, you can see we've got J18 and C8. They're here, C8 and J18 are going to be used in this stage. Okay, something I've tried, this fuel cap, it just fell off easily. So I've glued it on with Revell contactor, and it seems to be perhaps working. So we'll see about that. I'll have to use super glue going forward though. And I've looked at this here, and I think the easiest way to do this, so that we can build this assembly like this, because I think once we get these cartridge boxes in, they're going to be mounted back into the fuselage there. It's going to be difficult to get up underneath and fit all this and everything and have all the strings in the way. So I think what I'm going to do, what I could do is attach the strings to here now and then thread them through afterwards, but I think it's going to be hard to get into there with the fuel tank and everything on top, as you can see. So I think what I'm going to do is cut the strings to length, we'll tie them up, and then when it comes time to fit this, we'll fit J18 and C8 to this as they instruct here, and we'll have these strings hanging out. We can tie them, glue them, whatever, and then we can pull them back through from underneath and pull them in as we feed this in, because as you can see, this cable here becomes, this is D, this one here. So this cable here, you've got D1 is coming along, coming up through J18, back through the column, and then back out as D2. So we can actually put this one in here, we can put D2 in, have it coming up to the control column, and then just have it coming out the front, and then we'll have to somehow thread it back through once we're done, but there'll only be one of them, not two. I think that's going to be a lot easier to do it that way than try and actually build this up with all the strings and everything, hanging everything off. We've also got to paint this, we've got to put these straps on for the rudders as well. So yeah, I I don't really want to do that here. I'd rather get everything painted and assembled first. I think certainly it's going to be easier to fit these 4 cables to C8, you know, with them already threaded through here, and then just pull them back through. I think that would be much easier. This one here, not so easy, but I think it's the only way to go. I don't see how we can actually have all this just hanging around and assemble it together with that. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So that'll be for part 3. I'm going to call it a day there for part 2. So we haven't got a hell of a lot done, but I have. It's hours and hours of work. But we've got this all built up here, and that's all looking lovely with the little control area there. And we've got our column and everything done. So part 3 is going to be all about getting this this thread work done. I think in the meantime I'll deal with the seams on here. You don't need to see me sanding seams, do you, endlessly? As I say, it feels like this no, it's not. It's not working at all. Real shame. I don't know why Hasegawa have used the plastic that's... It's the same with that Revell 1/32 scale Hurricane. I had a nightmare with that, and Paul built one as well, and he had a nightmare with it, so I know it wasn't just me. There we are. So that's fitted on there now with super glue. And I'm just going to go round and mop up any oozage. There we go. Job done. Right. See you next week, guys. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.